Everybody, this is Chris Long, the designer and CEO at Lakeview Cottage Kids. And today what I want to do is continue in my Summer Dishcloth Series with dishcloth number 4, easy for me to say, the number 4 dishcloth, which is called Coral Splash. And it gets its name from the name of the color of the yarn. So this is a wonderful texture for a dishcloth, and it is made using the bumpy road stitch combination. And I want to go through the whole thing with you, and I think you'll really enjoy this one. I am using a yarn by Big Twist that you can get at Joann, and here's the label from that. It is a cotton yarn, but not 100% cotton. This one is actually 85% cotton and 15% polyester, a number 4 weight, and the color is great. I love these color variegations that they have. I showed you in one of my other dishcloth patterns, I was using Ocean Splash. This one's called Coral Splash, and it's a variegation of white and pinky coral. And this will make a really fun dishcloth or washcloth, and the texture is going to be great. So that's our yarn, and we are using an H hook for this one today. The final project should be about 8 inches square, and I think you'll find that it's a really fun and easy, quick pattern for you to make. And you might want to use this particular stitch pattern to make a blanket or other types of projects, but it's perfect for our dishcloth. Now, as far as making this, we need to do a stitch multiple of 4 plus 2. And what I did was I chose to make the stitch multiple 28 and then 2 more stitches. So what we're going to do to start out is to make our slip knot. Put our hook in there, and then what we want to do is chain our 30. So we'll just count here together: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And as I've mentioned in a lot of my videos, try to be as consistent with the size and shape of your chains as you can, and practice if you're just beginning so that you can get those pretty consistently the same, because then it looks real nice and it's easier to work with. So we've made 10. Now here we go to 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, pull some more yarn here, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. And again, I always recommend that it's really important to go back and count them one more time before you start in with the first row, just to be sure you're not getting off on the wrong foot with the wrong number. So we'll count by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. And of course, we don't count the loop or our crochet hook. So we do have 30, so we're ready to go. And now for this washcloth, like a lot of my washcloths, what you will do is do a full row of single crochets. And so in order to do this, we want to go, now what you're hearing in the background, I'm at my Door County home, and we are right next to the Maritime Museum, and they have an actual ship from World War II that they do tours with. And so when they're done with the tour, you hear the whistle. So that's what we're hearing. But anyway, what we want to do is we go to the second chain from the hook. So here's the first one, second one, right there. And we're going to do our single crochet in that second chain from the hook, and then a single crochet in every chain across the row. So you just will do that together. And again, you'll want to keep your tension nice and even. If you're a beginner, that's something that you'll want to practice, and these particular patterns are perfect for practice. So you want to just go along and get your single crochet. And for those of you just starting, just know that sometimes when you're in your first row, it might be a little hard to handle to start with because you don't have a lot of fabric to hold on, but you want to try and hold that. And again, speed is not necessary. You want to just do a real good quality of stitch. So do it slower. You don't have to go as fast. If I tend to get ahead of you, just stop the video and then just do it at your own pace and then check in when you're done. So you want to get your single crochets all the way across. And again, keeping your tension as even as possible. And again, as a beginner, if you're a beginner crocheter, just realize that tension is something that you just develop and you practice and practice. And you don't want it too tight or it's just a nightmare to try and get your hook into the chains and into the stitches. And if it's too loose, it's just real hard to handle and it's just too loopy and difficult to work with. So you just want to work that it's easy to work with, but not too loose. And again, we're almost at the end. So there we are, and at the end. Now remember that we started out with 30 stitches, or 30 chains, I should say. Now I want to count through and show you what we have at this point. Remember, we did our first single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So we're going to count each one of our stitches, and each one, if you look at that from the top, they look like little V's. And we're going to count each one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Exactly what we should have because we chained 30, but we went into the second chain from the hook for our first stitch. Now, from now on, you should have 29 stitches in every row. And I recommend, even if you're an experienced crocheter, whenever you're doing a project, count your stitches every row or 2 or 3 to make sure that you've got the right amount. If you don't, if you've added a stitch somehow or another, or you've not stitched enough, it can make the whole thing can be thrown off, and especially in something that has a stitch combination that they have to be matched up properly. Also, if it's a real plain stitch pattern, your sides of the project won't be straight. They'll be in and out and kind of angled off. It just won't work out if your stitch count isn't correct. And a good pattern will always tell you how many stitches each row should have, and you should follow that because it can get out of control kind of fast. If you do find that you have the wrong number, take out your stitches until you get back to a row that has the right number of stitches. So that was row 1. Now, for at the end of row 1, what we want to do is chain 2 and turn. All right, so we're going to chain 2, turn the project, and now what you want to do is in the stitch that is at the first stitch at the base of your chain 2, you want to put in 3 double crochets. So right in that same stitch at the base of the chain 2, we put in 3 double crochets. Okay, so it looks like such. Now, what you want to do is skip the next 3 single crochets, or the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, we're skipping those, and then in the next stitch we want to do a single crochet and 3 double crochets in the same stitch. So in that stitch we're doing a single crochet and 3 double crochets. Okay, so it looks like that. Now we want to repeat like this, these combinations, until we get to the last 4 stitches. So we're going to repeat from where we skipped 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, we're skipping those, and in the next stitch we're putting in a single crochet and a double crochet. And another one till we have a single crochet plus 3 double crochets in the same stitch. Next, we're repeating. Skip 3 stitches, and in the next, single crochet and then 3 double crochets. And go slow. Don't have to do it really fast. You want to be sure you get your numbers counted properly, and after every little cluster I kind of smooth it out. Again, we're repeating, skipping 1, 2, 3, and we want to do a single crochet and then 3 double crochets. Okay, then we count again, skipping 1, 2, 3, and in the next, a single crochet and 3 double crochets. Get myself some more yarn here. So I have a single crochet, 1 double crochet, so I need 2 more in that same stitch. Okay, repeating, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, single crochet, and then our 3 double crochets in the same stitch. Okay, now you'll notice we have, if you look, 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches left. And when we get to that part, we want to skip the next 3, 1, 2, 3, and in the very last stitch, what we want to do is to single crochet in that stitch. So be sure to go under both sides of the V and do 1 single crochet. And we're at the end of the row. Now, after that, we want to chain 2 again and turn. So that was row 1. Okay, now we go to row 3, I'm sorry, that was row 2. Row 3, what we want to do is, remember the stitch right below our chain 2, that's the first stitch, and we want to do 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Get myself some more yarn here. to do is skip these 3 double crochets in the second row. So you can see 1, 2, 3, and there was that single crochet that we would always start with. Well, what we want to do is in that single crochet, we want to do a single crochet in it and 3 double crochets in the same stitch. Okay, that's what it looks like so far. Now, what we're going to do is repeat that. So we're going to look for these 3 double crochets, skip those, and you can either count the bottom of them or at the top, 1, 2, 3, and you get to the smaller stitch, the single crochet, and in that single crochet we work a single crochet and 3 double crochets. Okay. And again, if you need to stop the video and just kind of do it slowly or repeat this, just back up the video and watch again, no problem. Now we want to again skip these 3 double crochets, and in that single crochet do 1 single crochet and 3 double crochets. Okay. Now just continue with that repeat, skipping the 3 double crochets, and in the single crochet work a single crochet and 3 doubles all the way to the end. So once you get to the end, you actually get to the last stitch and you just do a single crochet in the top of that chain 2 from the first row. So I'll go over that when you get to that. So just work across. I'll do the same, and I'll be back to show you the ending of this row and starting the next. Okay, here we are at the end of row 3, and you should have gotten right to the end where you have the last 4 stitches that are left. And what we want to do is we want to skip 1, 2, 3, and we're actually counting the top chain of that chain 2 that started that row, and we want to put a single crochet into that top of the chain 2, and our row is complete. Okay? Now, from now on, what we want to do is just repeat this same row, row 3, all the way until we complete our dishcloth. And then we'll end with 1 row of single crochet to kind of make the end look like the beginning. But in order to do this, again, we did row 1 was the single crochet row, then we did row 2, row 3, and now we want to repeat row 3, and I'll do that with you, where we do 2 chains and we turn. And now what I want to do is, remember I mentioned that after every couple of rows, count your stitches to make sure that you still have the 29 that we had from row 1. We wanted to get that all the time. Now in some patterns you'll see them say that the chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch, or it does count as a stitch. So it depends, and in this case the chain 2 is counting as our first stitch of the row. And so when we count, and I want to show you that right now, we're going to count before we start with our next row. I want to go through and show you how to count these particular, so you don't end up looking at it and say, I only have 28. Now, what we want to do in order to count, we are going to start with the top of the chain 2 and count it as as stitch number 1. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then don't miss that number 5, that little chain, or excuse me, single crochet. So again, counting with that top of the chain 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 stitches. And we get that because we are counting the top of the chain 2, that little V, right at the beginning of the row. So again, keep counting every couple of rows to make sure you still have 29. Now, in order to make our pattern, we want to get to our, I want you to get to 18 rows. And so what I want you to do, if possible, you know you're on 3, from now on, have a paper and pencil and write down the number of the row as you start it. So now this next row will be row 4, and I will go through row 4 with you, which is a repeat of row 3. That's what we do for the rest of the whole thing, except the very last. So row 4 is, we have the chain 2, and then we're going to do 3 double crochets in, and again I'll point that out, in the base of the chain 2, right there in the first stitch. So we're going to do 3 double crochets. And then there's 2, and then 3. Now we want to skip the next 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and in that little single crochet we're going to do a single crochet and 3 double crochets. There's 2 and 3. And again, kind of smooth it out after you get a cluster or 2 done. Again, skipping 3 double crochets, and you can count them either on the bottom of the double crochet or look at the V's on the top. Then when you get to that shorter stitch, the single crochet, do a single crochet there, and then 3 double crochets. Whoop, split my yarn, I'll do that again. I think I'll start with we have a single crochet and then 3 double crochets. Skip the 3 double crochets, and in that little single crochet, do a single crochet and then 3 double crochets. And again, speed is not the requirement. You want to just get all of your counts properly done and your consistent tension. So we want to count 1, 2, 3 double crochets, and in that short little single crochet goes a single crochet. And then 3 double crochets. There. Skip 1, 2, 3 double crochets, and in the single crochet you work a single crochet and then 3 double crochets. Now at first when you're doing this pattern you think, oh, I have to concentrate so hard, but actually once you get going with it, you get a real good feel for it, and you can do this very easily without having to really, be tense and worried about your count, and you'll get that easily. But it's 1, 2, 3 doubles, skip those, single crochet in the single crochet, and then 3 double crochets in that same stitch all the way across, as we said. Now we're almost at the end. When we get to this point, what we want to do is skip the last 3 double crochets, but in the top of that chain 2 from the row before, we're going to do a single crochet. There we are. We've got row number 4. And now we will continue all the way, chain 2, turn your work. You can see how we're getting a texture, kind of a bumpy road texture as they call this stitch combination. And I'd like you to do this until you get done with 18 rows. I'll work on mine too, and then I'll be back to help finish up. But I think you'll like the texture of this. And again, it's the same row, just back and forth. And count your stitches in each row every couple of rows. And remember, the top of that chain 2 counts as a stitch so that you get 29. All right? I'll be back when I'm almost at the end. Go ahead, I think you'll like it. Okay, so here we are back, and I have done enough of the pattern stitch so that I have 18 stitches, including this first row of single crochet that we started with. And to finish up, what I'd like to do is I'm going to do one more pattern row. So on the end of row 18, it was chain 2, and we're just going to do the exact pattern you've been doing all the way along. So it's 3 double crochets in this same stitch right in the first stitch, I should say. Skip 3 double crochets, and in the single crochet we work a single crochet and 3 double crochets. This is just the finishing row of the same pattern row that we've been doing all the way along. Skip the 3 double crochets and then do single crochet and double crochet 3 times. I'm really liking the feel of this yarn. I hope you do too. If you have any comments or suggestions for yarns that you like, please put them down below in the comments. But again, I really like it. It has a nice feel. So we're going to skip the 3 double crochets, single crochet, double crochet, 3 of them, skip our 3 double crochets, single crochet, and 3 double crochets, and skip 3 double crochets, single crochet, and 3 double crochets, skip our 3 double crochets, single crochet, and then 3 double crochet in this last grouping. And then we're just about at the end, and like with every row, we skip the last 3 double crochets, and then in the top of that chain 2, we just do 1 single crochet, and we're set. And there we are. Now to finish up, I like to just do a little bit to kind of, it won't match exactly, but to just kind of make it look kind of like it did at the beginning. What we're going to do as our last finishing row is chain 1 and turn. And then we're just going to slip stitch in each stitch all the way along. And I'm going to slip stitch in that first stitch below the chain. And again, just insert into the stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitch, and pull through the loop on the chain, on the hook. Into the stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitch and the loop on our hook. Just a slip stitch through every row, every stitch of the row. Again, into the stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitch, pull through the hook, the loop on the hook. Into the stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitch and the loop on the hook. And just continue that all the way across. It kind of makes it, instead of kind of that kind of up and down part of the row, it kind of straightens it out. So again, into the stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitch and the loop on the hook. Don't miss the little single crochets that are down in that little valley. Make sure you get every stitch. And again, this is a slip stitch, not a single crochet. Into the stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitch, pull through the loop on the hook. Into the stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitch and through the loop on the hook. And just keep repeating all the way across. And again, trying to keep your tension as usual, as even as you can. All the way across. And you'll see it kind of evens everything out as opposed to having it kind of up and down. Okay. And all the way across. Last single crochet and then even into the top of that last chain 2 and pull through. And then to finish everything, what we want to do is 1 chain and I'll cut that off. Leave yourself 5 or 6 inches and then just pull through, fasten off, just tug on it a little bit, and there is your completed dishcloth. And all you have to do now is just to work in those ends and you're done. I love this pattern. I love the yarn, I love the color, I love the stitch combination, and I think you will too. Remember, this is quite simple to do, but you get a wonderful texture, and it's perfect for either as a dishcloth or as a washcloth. So, there you are. The next coming up video will be another dishcloth in my Summer Dishcloth series. Hope you keep checking me out. This is Chris Long. Have a great time making your summer dishcloths. This is Lakeview Cottage Kids.